So let's break down the Cannonball rag. So it's actually out of G, but the first chord we play is going to be an E. So it's got a couple little pickup notes at the very beginning. It's like, gentlemen, start your engines, you know. So if you notice, you know, we're playing the Travis pattern B that we laid out earlier in the lesson. So if you're not quite fluent yet with that picking pattern, you might go back and revisit that lesson in the patterns and really get that down, because that is basically the whole root of this song, and everything is kind of built around that. So, and until you have that much down, the rest of it's going to be a little more difficult to understand and to incorporate together. So there's our first chord that we're going to play our pattern off of. Then we're going to go down here to our A, and you notice again I like to use my thumb and come up over the top and catch our root note. And then you got a couple different ways you can play this D. You can play it like this, but if you do that, you got to get your root note. So you got to take your thumb and come up here to the 5th fret. Or you can do like I do and cheat sometimes and play the 9 chord. And then down to the G, with back using the thumb over the top. So we do our little pickup notes, our gentlemen start your engines. A chord. And that's just a little melody notes you add there. Now it plays each time it goes through here, it'll play 2 rounds to make the verse, and it'll do the same thing when you go to the chorus. It'll play 2 rounds to make the chorus. So and you might notice I use a couple different A chords through there. Sometimes I'll play this one. Sometimes I'll play this one. It's just, that's kind of a matter on preference and what you prefer. I think, you know, Merle Travis played it both ways when he recorded it, you know, throughout the song. So there's no right or wrong way. It's just kind of wherever you feel like you need to go at the time kind of thing. So there's our verse. So let's go to the chorus. The chorus is, we're going to take this D chord, and we looked at it earlier when we did the Mose Rager rolls. So we're going to make this D chord, and this is our 3rd finger coming up, and it's going to catch the 6th and the 5th string there in the 5th fret. And that's our melody. And that melody stays the same when it's going from chord to chord here through the chorus. And you might want to take a few minutes just to kind of transition these back and forth with playing that melody. But and it'll go through that like we did on the verse. It'll go through it twice. So it's and the second time, instead of going to this G, it comes to this. And that's our chorus. So here's our turnaround. It's and after you get back to that E, it's just the same walking back through those chords like we've been doing through the rest of the song. So G, E, A, D, G. And there's our verse of the Cannonball Rag. So let's move on to the second verse. Now this is where we go back in, and hopefully you remembered the three-finger roll. And if you don't quite have the three-finger roll, you might want to stop here and go back and take a look at it again and refresh your memory. But we're going to go all the way up here to the 9th fret. And there's the chord we're going to make. And we're going to do our three-finger roll. Then we're going to move it down. And our picking pattern stays the same through this. So this chord, and there's our A, and our D is essentially the one we started out with. Just move it down a step. And the same thing with our A chord. When we go to our G, it's just going to be the same shape, just move down a step. Plays it twice. Now we're going to go into the chorus of our second verse here. This is where we get to use our Mose-Reger roll. And it's essentially what we learned in the Mose-Reger roll in the section of patterns. So we're going to do that, our thumb and finger drag. And there's our G chord again with our thumb up on top. Now, this particular picking pattern works best when it's a little more up-tempo versus trying to play it super slow, because the flow just really doesn't happen at that speed. So you know it's kind of natural to want to go ahead and play it while you're learning it. Part of the rest of the song may be a little bit slower, but once it all comes together and you can get everything at the same tempo, the flow of this will be a lot better. So the bridge here, the chorus part, and then remember it's the same thing we just played in the other. Alright, so let's break down our third verse, which sounds really similar to our first verse. It just has a few more little extra things in it to kind of give it a little more energy. So it starts off just the way the first verse did. And then you have this big slide coming into your A chord. So here it comes. And then we're going to do the same thing, slide into our D chord. And the second time through it, instead of going to this A, a lot of times I like to just take this same position and slide it all the way up here to where it makes the A up here in the 10th fret. So the second time through, and you notice keeping the same position for the first 3 chords going through here. So it slides from, and if you can really make that slide, it just really adds some drama to the verse. So let me play it again for you. So there's the second half of the verse. And the chorus on the third verse here is kind of, it has these stops. So if you were playing with a band and your drummer, he might go whop, you know, and you know, that's kind of the way the sound is envisioned. So you can kind of do that and kind of give you a chunk like that's like a. And that's where we're going back into our turnaround. So let me slow it down one time for you. And our ending, remember our E chord that we've used all the way through this position? Come all the way up here to the 8th fret. Dun, 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 dun. And you just walk that all the way down. Da 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 da. And a nice little chime at the end. And there, folks, you have the makings of the Cannonball rag.